You're listening to the ADHD and Me podcast. I'm Joe.
And I'm Jen, and we're so excited to share the strategies we've learned while navigating life as neurodivergents.
Each week, we'll discuss topics such as relationships, careers, mental health, and a lot more.
You'll get two unique perspectives on life's challenges, successes, and everything in between.
So without further ado, here's this week's episode. Welcome back to the ADHD and Me podcast. My name's Joe.
And I'm Jen.
And we're excited to be back for another episode. I think we missed 1 week.
We did.
But Jen said something, we said something really interesting to each other off podcast, and Jen kind of gave a little taste of it on her stories. But an ADHD podcast is going to have an ADHD schedule.
Yes.
And I think we came to terms with that. I think we tried to do it my OCP. We tried to have an ADHD podcast
for your OCPDs.
Put an OCPD schedule.
Yeah. I mean, you are a co-host. You're in your right to try it your way. However, it's not just me drilling things. It's just life.
Oh, no. This was not like, oh, Jen couldn't record. This was literally like life, right? Like life happened. We couldn't have a consistent day.
Yeah.
So now it's an ADHD podcast with an ADHD schedule. You were going to get these to you.
As long as we get it, weekly. And if we miss one, it's not the end of the world. We were at a book conference, and so we definitely did not have the time.
Yes, and that's what we want to talk about today.
It's just a story time. We're just going to gab.
We're going to gab. So we went to a book conference for 5 days.
Wednesday to Sunday.
And basically...
His first one.
Yeah, I joined Jen to help volunteer.
He was my assistant.
For this, to help her with social media.
Mm-hmm. And the scavenger hunt.
Yeah, scavenger hunt was part of the social media. And it was a jam-packed agenda.
Yes.
About 1,500 people.
Yep.
And
morning to night activities. Non-stop.
So I think what we want to talk about is kind of like what went well.
Yeah.
What didn't. How it affected you with ADHD. Yes. How it affected me with OCPD.
What were the wins and the L's, and also how different we are in preparing for this trip.
Yes.
You want to do the honors?
You want to start with this?
I think this is the beginning of this is before the trip happened, right? So here I am. I'm literally typical ADHD. No matter what I do and say on this podcast, I am who I am. And so as pure Jen fashion, I packed late. And by late, I'm talking like the night of, like a few hours before. And I think I went to bed at 2 a.m. and woke up at 4.
Yes.
That was my preparedness. How about him?
So I'm admittedly a late packer as well, but I don't need to plan as much. I don't have as much
he doesn't really
equipment.
care about outfits. He's like a Ken doll. He clicks on his tee, clicks on his pant. He's done.
But we needed coverage for our dog, our little doggy. So we were going to have both sets of grandparents tag team it, come to the house, take care of the dog, dog sit, spend time, all that stuff. So just last minute, I whipped up a guide. Now, the funny thing about this is I did the guide in the bedroom while Jen was packing. I guess she didn't really notice.
No.
I printed it out. I stapled it. I put it on the counter. And it wasn't until after the trip Jen found the guide.
This is my first time seeing the guide.
I
almost peed my pants seeing this guide. Should we just send them all this guide? We
may have to put a link to this guide, but I'll try to describe it. So this guide, I may have went a little overboard with the directions because I made this guide as if I was writing it for a 4-year-old, and I was really writing it for the grandparents, my set of parents and her set of parents. So this EV care guide, it talks about how she will have her harness on. The leash is going to be hanging up on her hall tree.
And then a little Pokemon.
No, I didn't put that. That was her backpack.
Oh, I thought you put...
You thought I put a Pokemon there? No. So I put a picture of her leash, and then just in case they weren't sure, I put a little
an arrow
graphic
that said
there.
Leash, just in case they weren't sure what the leash was.
And then I'm not going to bore you with the whole thing, but I labeled her treats and which treats
and he
are what.
held up the treat.
I held up the treat. I said Evie will not go in the backyard. She's a brat.
The fact that you had to put circular training treat, like telling them the shape, just you could just put like treat and green. But
yes, I'm not sure if the grandparents really read the guide, but
wait, hold on, wait. My favorite part at the bottom in bold. Evie will, capital, not go to the bathroom in the backyard. She's a brat. In
it's
all
true.
caps.
Our dog's a brat. She won't go to the bath. You have to be walker. I'll skip a couple pages.
My favorite, though, is the water.
Yeah, so this is the best one, and then we'll stop. So the best one is I talk about how your food and water have to be filled every day. And just in case somehow they didn't know where the water and the food go, I labeled the water bowl water and the food bowl food. I'll stop it there.
It's clearly like,
and the water's clearly water,
fully crudted with food. But it's just
so naturally
really cute.
It's just like I don't know. I tried to make it as like take all the guesswork out.
Listen, this is something I wish I could do, but this is only something I would do if I was like in a hyperfixated state. Like I'd be able to pull this out, but he just like on a random.
Oh no, yeah, I snapped the pictures, did it. It was done in like 15 minutes less.
And that's the difference between us is that he thinks and does. I think, and then I think about something else, and then I forget about the first thought. So it's just a spiraling thing. So yeah, so we packed, and we left at what time?
It was around, well, we tried to leave at 4:30. We wound up getting on the road at 5, but honestly, it was great. We had no traffic. It was a good
road
trip.
Great time. He talked about
oh gosh,
the entire.
I forgot about this,
guys. The entire ride for hours and hours. All he talked about was time.
I was like, we're making phenomenal time.
The time.
Oh my God. And then,
and then there's like an alternate route that would save you. What was it?
13 minutes. And I was like,
it's getting inappropriate in here. I'm like, do you need a minute alone? Because like, you're absolutely insane. And like, he just wouldn't stop talking about time. And I'm just like,
I got so excited.
I'm happy. I was like, do you want like, as like a romantic, like spicy gift, just like a video of like a GPS of the time going lower and lower and it being like an alternate route that saves you 20 minutes. Will that really get you jollies going? Like, come on. It's ridiculous.
But then like the moment we got there, it was like pretty much go time from the start.
Yes. Thank God he came.
Yeah.
I would have been lost. I would have been sold on eBay.
Well, Jen did this job by herself last year, and I don't know how.
But it was a smaller hotel. This is a biggest hotel we've ever stayed in.
Biggest hotel.
Yeah.
It's a convention center and a hotel. So, all right. Let me just tell you about the scale of this. Yeah. So much so that you need to download an app.
And it gives you the map.
With a map, an interactive map in order to find everything. With like directions from one place inside the building to the next to actually get around.
And I still, on day 5, didn't know where.
So yeah, by day 5, first of all, by like the end of day 1, I had the map committed to memory.
And
I knew where everything was.
He's laughing at me.
On day 5, Jen's like, "How do I get back to the room?
Where do we go?
How do I go?" And I'm like,
"Which room?"
At that point, I just started.
Where's the ballroom?
I don't know.
What's this?
So, but I guess let's talk about the pros. So, like. Before we talk about the cons.
The pros are you went with me.
So one pro is that I was able to assist
the gym. You loved the gym.
The gym was really nice.
Very clean, beautiful hotel.
Yes, it was very... So, side note, if you're into gym hotels, there's a website. I think it's called like Rate My Gym, or I don't know. Just type in gym hotel ratings. Yeah. And you can just search the hotel and see how good of a rating the gym gets.
He even checked the rating he's checked it a few times, but he even
like
checked
twice, maybe 3
No,
times.
you checked it like another right before we left, and you're like, I just need to make sure that the rating is the same before we leave.
Like it would matter.
So the pros were...
I think one was that not only did I come, but like we were a good tag team for the most part.
Amazing tag team. Like he's the yin to my yang. He's like...
I was able to keep her on task.
Yes, because like I'm like the creative one. I'm the one who's like, okay, I've done this before. This isn't my first rodeo. This is my 3rd time going to this book event. So this is how it's going down. And then he was able to like fine tune things and help me like.
Well, I knew so like I basically would like look at the event schedule for the day.
And help.
And then because Jen, she would be so creative and caught up in one thing.
Yeah.
But I would have to remind her like, hey, we got to wrap this up because we got to go to another
or
place.
You even helped me with graphics. Like I was like, okay, this is the graphic template. was like, can you just transfer this information over here so that in the morning we give everyone their morning itinerary and we can play cool music. And so all I had to do was like give him the template, design it, and be like, okay, transfer the information. So he was kind of like my admin with that. And that was a huge help. So I can like get ready, be able to do that at the same time. Cause he takes 2 seconds. He takes a 2-second shower and he doesn't even, I don't even know if he uses soap. It's just so quick.
I also helped you remember to like hydrate and actually eat food.
Made me remember to eat food. Made me remember to drink water. What else? Just so helpful in helping me carry all the bags as we had to like hide things for the scavenger hunt. And he was just like pure angel sent from above. And even like when I needed to hide stuff and I was being followed, like he's like, okay, I'll go out and I'll hide stuff and I'll show my face in the Instagram stories, and you can just do your other things that you need to do, and we'll just split up and do it that way. Huge help. And the only thing is that like I don't think I can ever do it without you again, and so that's the hard thing, is like how do I find a Joe replacement? I don't know, but I think it was nice to see that I can do this and it can be less of a, I guess, hardship on me. It was like,
but I would say, for even your neurotypical person, it's still a very hectic, stressful, like there's tons of people, and
it's like I think everything's overlapped.
I think I think anyone would get a little flustered. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily got flustered, but I just know by the end of the day, I was like, wow, this took it out of me.
We were wiped. Like, even on the last day there was like an author signing, my knees, because I didn't sit. We were walking, and I'm not young, and I forgot, and I felt like I was in Disney World, and I just kept going, walking, and then my knees started to click, and they were like inflamed and swollen, and he ended up with a migraine, so we had to take a break. And that was the thing. We forgot to take breaks every single day. Like, it was just like we were supposed to take like at least some time to just like...
Yeah, and and because I have the Fitbit, we did more steps than Disney, actually. And I'll tell you why. You forget that at Disney, there's moments where you're sitting at rides.
Yeah,
there's moments when you're sitting to eat.
We weren't in rides.
I checked, and one of the days was 25,000 steps. And I know how many steps you do at Disney, and sometimes it doesn't get up to that. So that just gives you the amount of on your feet, walking around.
Yep.
It was pretty wild.
But what was cool, though, is that because, obviously we're, helping with the scavenger hunt, helping with the social team, and like we were able to get into certain rooms earlier so that we can like film the content or hide the bags or talk to different authors. And I got to meet some of my favorite authors ever. And Joe even like met some, but
I didn't know who they were, but it was cool.
Yeah.
I guess that's another pro.
It was funny. He told me, he's like, don't forget, I'm standing to your right when you're talking to authors.
An ADHD thing. And Jen would just like
every time I would zone in on the person and be like, hi, I'm Jen. Nice to meet you. I'm a big fan. I'm like, goodbye. And then Joe's like, you forgot again.
I'm just the creepy guy standing next to her.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. And then sometimes I would remember and then I'd forget again. So there was a lot of that, but his dream came true. His favorite comedian, artist, singer, TJ Maxx, he was able to do like a music video, a little social video with me.
That was fun.
And it was but it was like something that I think you mentioned the song, and then I was like, okay, what if we do this? And so there's a wedding happening in the middle of the lobby. It's a beautiful, huge Indian wedding, and everyone's in their beautiful garb, and they're having photography over to the left side of the gazebo, and we're literally
filming videos.
And Joe's like running around with the camera, and he's like wiggling his arms, and it was just we just didn't realize until we were done. We looked at them and we're like, oh.
So what about the cons?
Con number 1, I didn't bring my color timer. I forgot. And so every 2 seconds, how many times did I say, what time is it? How much time do I have?
And you saying, I should have, like when you were getting ready.
I was mad at myself.
I should have brought my timer.
I was like, I use this every day. I mean, if you're not watching, I'm holding up my color timer that is just for my brain. And it shows time. But that was a mistake. So that's
especially getting ready.
Getting ready, yes. I'm mad that I didn't bring that. Also, I didn't bring any fidgets, any weighted blankets, any things like for my anxiety or any like things that I can just like hold in my hand, stress balls, whatever have you. I did none of that. Also, we should have brought a cart with wheels. I didn't realize, like, I knew that the first year I did it, you know, I had so many bags on my shoulders and it hurt. And I just like, I feel like this time around it would have been really cool to just like have a thing of wheels.
Sure. Well, I think you mentioned brakes. Brakes were a big thing. I think
we forgot about those.
That was that was big. And then trying to get better sleep. We
did pretty good. I'm going to be honest with the sleep. You don't understand.
But I felt bad because like I snore and
oh yeah, that was
tough. And what happens is you with the ADHD and overstimulation, you haven't had a second to breathe. So we get back to the hotel room and your brain does not want to go to sleep. Your brain wants to give yourself alone time.
Yes, but it was surprisingly not that bad because I was so exhausted. My whole body
that helped
was like done. My knees were actually throbbing. It felt like I had a heartbeat in my kneecaps.
Wow.
It was just a lot of walking. Your snoring you were wilding out with that, but you know what? Eventually, I passed out from exhaustion and I didn't hear it anymore, which is nice. But it's funny, like the first day we go, he's like, I gotta work out. I gotta do this. He's like, I gotta to the gym right now. Like as soon as we got there, and I'm like, can you just calm down?
Well, when we checked in, the first thing I asked the lady,
where's the gym? And then all of a sudden, as soon as we get into the room, he's like doing push-ups, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Can we just like get settled first? Like, I'm stepping over him as he's like 1, 2, and I'm just like, okay, this man.
Another good thing though is that we prepped. We prepped okay with like we brought protein shakes.
He prepped perfectly.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying it's in general.
Celsius
protein shakes.
But now we know to bring more Celsiuses because we ran out.
I brought little pistachio things, some protein bars.
Genius.
I honestly thought next time I would bring more. But
we had our car too, which was great.
That was very helpful.
We filled it up as much as we could, and it was in that garage in the convention center. So if we needed anything, it was right there. But overall, it was way better. It was a way better experience for me personally than last year. I had support with him. I didn't feel like alone. I didn't feel like I was just a loner doing all this. Like I had a companion that was supportive, and it was a fun experience.
It was. I think it was overall, but I think it would be good to talk about though, like even though I came with you and we were a tag team, it was still 5 crazy days.
Yes.
And we should maybe talk about how after post trip because I think that is also important. Like I know for me, it doesn't take as much time for me to acclimate, but I know, the first night home was tough because our dog was so excited to see us. So
you recovered next day. Like he was unbothered.
And then so for the most of the time I recovered, but I know for you, and I would love you to talk about like if you think this is ADHD specific or something else. I think it probably is because of the overstimulation, but how it's taken you from getting home Sunday night to we're now recording this Thursday, and how it's affected you.
Yeah, I'm still recovering. I'm gonna be honest from it. And we got back when?
We got back Sunday night.
We got back Sunday night, and it's Thursday, and I'm still feeling just drained. That's the best word for it. I'm feeling burnt out. I'm feeling drained. I'm feeling like I don't want to socialize anymore. I don't want to talk. I don't want to be around many people. I'm also thinking about every single thing I ever said and did and how I made a mistake. Like, you should have said that, or you shouldn't have said that, or you offended that vendor when you asked that question because you're spicy and you just have no filter and you asked that question and it came off weird. I'm literally every single day throughout the day at different times, having flashbacks of my own, in my mind, stupidity or oversharing or whatever have you. Like, I never want anyone to feel like I offended them or whatever. So that's kind of, or like I'll think to myself, oh, you should have done a better job. You should have done this. Like this, like they were expecting this of you and you failed in this area. I'll have imposter syndrome and be like, you don't deserve to be the scavenger hunt person for this. There's someone that is younger, cooler, more fun. Like, why are you even here? These are the thoughts that are like coming through my head. And the thing is that what helps is just trying your best to reset and ground yourself, but also give yourself grace. So like resetting, like, okay, as long as I make my bed this morning and I have a glass of water, I made it, right? I brushed my teeth. I like just little by little, I can't get back into my older routines right away, but just one day at a time. And, you know, I even wrote down a journal entry and that was helpful. But again, just trying to use what I talk about on the podcast.
Yeah. But I just think that is a big con to consider is like how long an event of that magnitude and the amount of days, how long that has a ripple effect for recovery.
Oh, yeah. It's everybody. It's different.
And I'm sure it's going to be different for everybody, but it's definitely one to consider. Anything else to add?
Well, we did our first cosplay together. He was Aragorn. I was Arwen from Lord of the Rings.
I wouldn't say that's our first cosplay.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Oh, I guess because it's like a themed thing. Because I guess like we've dressed up for Halloween together.
Everybody's dressed up for Halloween together, but this is the first like cosplay party where you're dressed up as a book character. True. And so that was really fun. And
you got some good photos. Well, yeah, they have this gazebo, or I don't know how you would call it. I guess you would call it a gazebo, right?
Yeah, it was a gazebo.
It was like a perfect backdrop for the pictures. So
yeah.
It was fun.
And that's another thing too, right? Like I have my recovery period, but he also has his recovery period, meaning like, how do I put this? Like you have to immediately get back into your old routines, but it's like,
period.
But it's like times 10. Mm-hmm. It's like,
I have to overcorrect now.
He's overcorrecting to the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, like,
yeah.
I think one of those days I was like, can you just like stop? Because he just kept walking back and forth in the room, making me feel like an absolute dumpster raccoon because he was so productive and being like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. And by the way, I did 400 push-ups. Like, it's just like, okay. Like,
yeah.
While I'm talking to the wall and it's answering me. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, so I overcorrected the other way because it's like, okay, now we had 5 days where I couldn't be in a rhythm. The rhythm never could have been the same.
And don't get me wrong, like we had our arguments. We had many different arguments.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
On the trip, after, before.
Yep.
And but what's great is that because this is like not like we've done so much work on ourselves that in these arguments we're able to have healthy communicative arguments even when we're in our moods, in our feelings. It's just like he is just like so great with being like, oh wow, like I said that, I offended you, you know, let me think on that. And then he'll come up with like a very empathetic apology and like understanding and just being like, oh, I understand that you're chasing dopamine right now and you might want to, you know, get into a new hobby or hyperfixation because you're craving, you know, things to make you feel good because you don't feel good right now.
Yeah.
But it takes practice and like nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
know?
Practice doesn't make perfect.
No.
Practice makes progress.
Whoa!
I'm sure I'm not the first person that said that, but I'm going to
put it on a shirt. ADHD in my podcast merch. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, all in all, we want to do a story time to let you know that, like, listen, going forward, have yourself your neurodivergent backpack filled with your colored timers, your fidgets, your all the things that make you feel okay at home. Bring them with you. Don't do what I did. And yeah, I think that I think I really enjoyed our trip and our time together. I am going to recover from it, hopefully. But if he was not with me, guaranteed my recovery.
I
would have passed out. I'm going to be honest. I probably would have passed out because I wouldn't have eaten. I wouldn't have drank water. I would have had a panic attack if I was by myself.
But if you didn't pass out and you came back after trying to do that alone, I don't know if we'd be recording right now.
Commit me. Put me somewhere. Listen, I will lock the door behind you. It's fine. But no, I think you being a support and being there, it's massive. And I told him, I told you, right? Every single day, I'm like, you have no idea what this means to me.
How can I ever repay
I'm like, what can I do? I was like, what do you need? You want me to make a savings account?
But yeah, I think that wraps up the episode.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Thank you as always for listening. We'll see you on the next one.
Yes.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode.
You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at ADHD and Me Podcast.
Our theme song is by @It'sOfBo. We will see you there, or we will see you on another time.